Good evening and welcome to Nimasa This Week. I am Frank Edo. The focus on the program tonight would be a celebration of seas and oceans. Well, it is a thing. There's a day set out to commemorate seas and oceans. That's July 25. Now, Nimasa and a bunch of stakeholders came together and they had an event, and this program will be the focus of that event. Also on the program, we will be talking to Nimasa Executive Director of Finance and Administration, Mr. Bashiru Jamo. So, it's going to be a wonderful time out. First of all, let me take time out to thank you for allowing us intrude into your privacy on a Friday. Now, I'm sure you're wondering and pondering, where is the co-presenter? Well, Cordelia decided to embark on a voyage to a far-flung destination. So, she promises us good tidings and a postcard. But not to worry, Cordelia's circumnavigation will last for only a week and she'll be back here as usual. So, without further ado, let's set sail. Welcome back to Nimasa This Week. Now, Africa's seas and oceans today represent a major asset to accelerate the continent's development. It's imperative for Africans to take advantage of the opportunities offered by the blue economy. So, the African Union had set aside the 25th of July every year as the Day of Seas and Oceans. The Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, Nimasa, did a good job on behalf of the African Union for stakeholders in Nigeria.
In line with the provision of the African Union, government agencies, stakeholders in the value chain of the blue economy, diplomats, port communities and other government agencies joined Nimasa to commemorate the Day of Seas and Oceans in Nigeria. The hall was packed full with those who place premium on the value the oceans bring to humanity. With the theme, Partnership, Key to Sustainable Blue World, African Day of the Seas and Oceans 2018 was in line with the African Union's action plan for implementing the Africa's Integrated Maritime Strategy called 2050 AIMS Strategy. In his welcome address, the Director General of Nimasa, Dr. Dakuku Adol Peterside, noted that the objective of the entire celebration was to raise awareness for better land-based waste management to ensure cleaner oceans and sea.
The desire for Africans is for African countries to partner with each other and articulate strategies for effective utilization of the continent's maritime resources for sustainable development. Nimasa, as you are aware, is the country's maritime administration, and that comes with enormous responsibility. And we have considered it necessary to be the fulcrum to champion the creation of awareness on the African Integrated Maritime Strategy, the AIMS Strategy 2050. The objectives driving our theme this year have been carefully drawn from critical domestic industry growth needs, which includes the need to raise awareness of the campaign for better waste management on land to aid the recovery of our seas and ocean. The seas and ocean provides ample opportunity for us not just to grow our economy, but also to address the issues of poverty and other focal issues of the Sustainable Development Goals.
The board chairman of Nimasa, General Jonathan India Garba, was also very clear that the potential inherent in the oceans are essential to the existence of mankind.
We are regularly confronted with the effect of floods, ocean surges, tidal waves, earthquakes, degrading ocean acidification, illegal fishing, climate change, shipping pollution, maritime piracy, as well as pollution caused by plastics, chemicals, cans, and other man-made pollutants that flow from rivers into the oceans. While not losing sight of the very important issues of sustainability, it is noteworthy to observe the many nations depend on the oceans for their daily survival. Therefore, Africa cannot talk of sustainable development unless the issues of oceans, governance, and securities are tackled.
Other speakers, including the chairman of the session, Engineer Greg Ogbefon, also had words on how Nigeria can best enjoy the benefit of being a coastal country.
Establish exclusive maritime zone for Africa, to engage civil societies and all stakeholders to improve awareness on maritime issues, to enhance wealth creation and regional and international trade performance through maritime-centric capacity and capability building, to minimize, and this is extremely important, to minimize environmental damage and expedite recovery from catastrophic events that are undermining our blue ocean and economy.
Today we're talking about awareness of the oceans. The oceans, that's where we get our food from. That's where we get our livelihood from. Ocean water is life. It's not just about today. It's about each one of us doing the right thing. Each one of us taking a decision, making a decision to keep our oceans clean. It starts from us. This is an engagement where we will take action after today. And encourage everybody to take action. It starts with you, me, each one of us taking action.
Introducing the new face of the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, Nimasa. We are charting the direction for a maritime and regulating the industry for a better, bigger, and more economically stable Nigeria. Evolved to serve you better. We are Nimasa. New face, rejuvenated service. Nimasa, changing the tides in your favor.
So that's it. The care for our seas and oceans begins with you. So before you dispose of that plastic bottle carelessly, remember that huge wastes, maybe tiny waste, leads to huge waste, which and consequently endangers aquatic life and has a multiplier effect on life of humans. So before you dispose that waste, make sure it goes to the right location. Now let's take you to the technical session of that same event, which had paper presentations, ultimately led to the setting up of a committee to implement all the recommendations on the day that commemorated seas and oceans.
The first presentation by Barrister Mrs. Margaret Orakusi was based on National Maritime Strategy and the National Maritime Transport Framework. How far is the road yet? She elaborated on how to chart a new course to a new blue economy for Nigeria. She also took a look at the country's maritime transport policy.
The sea contributes significantly to the development and prosperity of any nation. Today, a great many of the needs of the globalized world are met by seas and oceans, which Africa as a continent is blessed with. And Africa's future, both in terms of opportunities and challenges, is tied to the maritime space which surrounds it. I dare say that we are very, very lucky indeed. 80% of the national budget is based on revenues from crude oil and gas exports, taxes and royalties. And 90% of Nigerians' import and export trade by volume is carried by sea. At least we better appreciate the role sea plays in our economy. Accordingly, Nigeria requires a safe, secure, and enabling maritime domain to drive a strong, diversified, sustainable, and competitive economy, and a national maritime transport policy that will drive this process. I must also acknowledge what Nimasa is doing in driving this policy, national maritime policy. For Nigeria to develop a robust and sustainable maritime sector, there is need to prepare for an all-inclusive framework strategy based on the development strategies of the African Union.
Developing Nigeria's blue economy as a critical national economic objective. The partnership model was the objective of the second presentation made by Dr. Chris Asoluka. How partnership can assist in making the Nigerian blue economy the mainstay of the Nigerian economy.
Blue economy then is an emerging developmental paradigm. It's not the old paradigm where we thought that the maritime resources just put ship there, load cargo, go there, come back. No. How can you be undermining your potential? The blue economy talks beyond ships. It talks beyond shiploads. Nimasa has started with a mass program that must be rejigged in order to solve concrete problems in providing maritime manpower. That you can facilitate, you can accelerate the growth of this country by refocusing attention on the potential of the blue economy within our. There must be social equity. If there's no social equity, it will not be sustainable. If people stay in their villages, they see you exploit and cut away riches, and you leave desolation and poverty in their midst, will it be sustainable? It can't. And this is not the gospel of the blue economy.
We can never achieve blue economy without working in the marine in an integrated fashion.
Professor Babajide Alo, who led the open discussion, made a presentation on understanding regulatory instruments for effective maritime environment management. He was very clear on the dangers of not taking care of the oceans, particularly the dangers of land-based waste management.
We need to ensure that we carry out our activities in a positive and sustainable manner so that we can have the blue economy. Our seas that are supposed to be blue, that are not blue, is impacting on shipping. Ships plying our waters get into problems because of the fact that the sea is not blue, because of waste from the land is badly impacting the water body.
The high point of the event was the setting up of a committee to implement the recommendations at the event. The committee, chaired by the Nimasa board chairman, was inaugurated by Barrister Mike Igbokwe, a senior advocate of Nigeria, SAN.
If you look at the statistics published by the Malaysia-based IMO organization that takes note of piracy attacks and criminal activity on sea, the figures for Nigeria is dropping lately. Now, issue of unregulated and illegal fishing, well, so the numbers are dropping, and each front we're making a lot of progress because people are working on it. People are working while others are sleeping. People are working on it. We are getting agencies to cooperate. We're getting all partners in the process to collaborate.
Wow, it shows that Nimasa means business. They don't only talk the talk, but they walk the walk after the fact. And so you have a conference and you come up with recommendations and you set up a committee immediately to make sure that those recommendations are put into action. Now, it wasn't talk all the way. As a matter of fact, there was an amalgamation between the arts and maritime. It came together in a performance. It was a wonderful dramatization of the concept of the African Day of Seas and Oceans. The performance was by Omi Ni Iye, meaning water is life.
See, if we do things right, all will go well with us, and of course, with nature. Since we sold ourselves to capitalization like headless chickens without direction, for money, we allowed chemicals being poured into our waters, our oceans, our rivers, our sea. Our mother, the ocean, isn't happy. But I have taken it upon myself to educate my people. Where is Papa Emeka? Papa Emeka, do you need land police to tell you to clear your environment? That small biscuit and sweet where you go buy for Emeka. You can't give him the nylon, say make it go to the one for outside. Not be so again, no. Because at the end of the day, you know what thing will happen? The breeze, the rain will fall. You go carry everything, come go meet our sea. It will spoil everything. So please, keep following.
Welcome back. It's time for the interview segment. Now, suddenly, because Cordelia is absent, I decided to, pay a visit to the Nimasa headquarters. So I got there, and to my surprise, I stumbled upon a friend. He is an executive director of Nimasa, finance and administration to be exact. Now, I told him, let's have a chat, and he said, why not, from his busy schedule. So you're about to listen to the interview that I had with the executive director, finance and administration of Nimasa, Mr. Bashiru Jamo. This is Nimasa This Week, the interview segment to be exact. In front of me, we have one of the luminaries steering the ship of Nimasa forward. And he is seated before me. He's actually in charge of finance and administration. I'm talking about the executive director. Hello, sir. Mr. Bashiru Jamo.
Thank you very much, Mr. Frank.
How are you doing, sir?
I'm fine, and you?
I'm fine. You look absolutely well.
It's a special grace of God.
Okay.
That
Beautiful.
keeps one speech like this.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Sir, we all know that Nimasa is going towards digitalization, and one of the cardinal points of Nimasa is making sure that automation is the order of the day. So how has that impacted positively on Nimasa?
I think this is one of the most important aspects now in the pro-bono of the agency.
Yes.
And we can be laid back. Internationally, every sector, they are going digital. And I think to us, it's a little bit pretty late, but it's better late
than never.
So we have been on these digitalizations, I think, since last year.
Okay.
And we're on the final lap of the digitalization.
Okay.
And everything being equal, by end of this month, we will conclude the entire process.
Wow.
And that improves a lot in terms of our maritime domain awareness, both internally and to our own stakeholders.
How has this process prevented leakages in terms of the transactions that take place? What are the benefits of it that you are reaping already?
Well, you can see or you can hear, even last year we were commended by the federal government in terms of revenue generations. This particular digitalization reduced the contact, man-to-man contact, and which is the brain box about corruption. When you look at individual, when you have to see individual before you get things done, especially one has to do with billing, then the issue of exchange of give and take will come up. Now with the digitalizations, you don't have to see anybody, and you will be able to get your own bill as and when due. So it's point one end to another end. You will be able to get your bill and you pay your own bill as well. So this increase the productivity, growth, and as well as efficiency of the system.
The agency has in recent times made capacity building the
Yeah.
forefront.
Yes.
Now, how is the agency going to undertake this? How are they going to carry it out in terms of how have they managed to incorporate it into the running of Nimasa, capacity building?
Well, as you are aware, capacity building program in every organization is the backbone of that organization. So you can't lead organizations, you can't work in an organization if you don't have the skill and knowledge for you to do that. So one of the key actors and policies that we try to adopt when we came in as executive management is to see how we can revamp our own capacity building.
Yes.
Now, we try to do a lot of things in terms of capacity building. First of all, we try to benchmark our own maritime domain awareness system.
Yes.
To know what we are required to do as per our own mandate and understand that.
Yes.
It is when you understand what you are supposed to do, then you know who should be able to drive it. And that person that's supposed to drive that particular mandate must have the foreknowledge of doing that. And how do he have that foreknowledge? Is by training and development. And in doing so, we try to take skill gap analysis of individual staff and try to match that skill gap analysis with our own mandate vis-a-vis our own domain awareness system, so that we can get the right person in the right place. And then at the end of the day, if we send you for training, you come back, we do evaluations. And these evaluations comes in different forms. First of all, what the gains from that particular training you acquire to the agency, and then to you yourself as a staff. We do it in terms of short term, medium term, and long term. And we develop a chain that if there is need of follow-up training, we do. That is for the internal staff. Now, we can't rely only on internal staff. We have stakeholders that we need to speak with one voice. We can be talking one language, and the stakeholders, they are talking a different language. And we try to inculcate also that culture. For the staff, we have different style of training. Internally, we have our own training center at the resource center.
Yeah, is the knowledge transfer session part of that training?
Yes.
Knowledge, okay.
Yes, that's why I'm going. So every week, in a month, we do it 2 times a week. We have 2 segments, leadership training and technical training.
Okay.
Now, if you look at our workforce, more than 60% of our workforce that are within the age of 55 to 60, meaning that we're going to have a problem in terms of succession. So what we do, those old hands that learn a lot in the system and understand the concept of the system, we drafted them to go to the resource center and try to coach the younger ones. Now, even if they are retiring, they are transferring their knowledge to the younger ones. So at the end of the day, even if we are going to have a gap, that gap may not be substantial enough for the agency to cry upon. In addition to that, as you know, the maritime industry is a professional industry. So we may not have the required training, our entire mandate. So we do go foreign universities and even the outreach campuses of foreign universities for short-term courses and long-term courses. Recently, we signed an agreement with World Maritime University. Every year, we will have to take about 7 staff to be trained on the professional areas of our own choice. This particular training, it can span from masters to postgraduate, even PhD level. So we started that particular program this year. This is in addition to the local universities we do patronize. And we also patronize institutional-based training. That is the training outfits we have outside the training schools. The individual trainings, private individuals that do training, we also have them. They come here, they align with our own trained staffs to train our own teaming staffs. And at the end of the day, it's very rewarding. You can see the productivity every day improving. And that's what translates in what you asked before,
Yes.
that has to do with revenue.
Focus, passion, heart, resilience, and of course, patience. And it's a very nice message. I want to thank you for giving us your time. I hope we are going to come back and speak with you real soon again, because I'm sure there's more we have to tap from your wealth of knowledge and experience. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Frank.
Yes, sir.
And I wish you all the best.
You too.
Thank you.
All right, so that was Nimasa this week's interview session. We go back to the program. Thanks. Well, I think this is living proof that what a woman does along with a man can do by himself. I'm talking Cordelia's absence did not really sway us. We didn't falter. Strengthened like the rock of Gibraltar. Nimasa this week has come to an end. Now, what's going to happen next week? Let me give you a sneak peek. Next week, we shall be serving you a report of how Nimasa is encouraging the female gender to participate in the maritime sector. Our guest next week is another executive director. Actually, he is the Maritime Labor and Cabotage Services Executive Director of Nimasa. And I also had a confabulation with him, and he's going to be on next week. So thank you enormously for watching. Thank you for tolerating me without Cordelia. My name is Frank. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time. Bon voyage.